One of the first places we went to in DC was the beautiful National Cathedral. It was the most gigantic church I've ever seen. It had very beautiful stained glass windows. There were also many gargoyles on the outside of the cathedral. Another place we went to on Monday was Ford's Theater, where President Lincoln was assassinated. Inside the theater, we saw the booth where Lincoln got shot, and we listened to a lecture. After that, we went to the FDR Memorial, which was one of my favorite places. There, we saw many greatly detailed statues of Franklin D. Roosevelt. We got our pictures taken in front of some of the statues. There were also many waterfalls. We took a group picture in front of one of the waterfalls. We also had lots of fun climbing on some huge rocks in the FDR Memorial. From the FDR Memorial, we could see the Washington Monument, which we visited on Thursday. After that, we walked over to the Jefferson Memorial. Inside was a huge statue of President Jefferson. The next morning, we went to the White House, which was also one of my favorite places. We were very lucky that we got to get into the White House because most groups don't get to. Across the street from the White House, we saw a protester who had been out there for many years. After that, we went to the Supreme Court, where we listened to a lecture in the actual courtroom. We also got to walk through Arlington National Cemetery. It was completely full of rows and rows of tombs. There we got to see the changing of the guard, which was a pretty cool ceremony. We also saw the grave of President John F. Kennedy in the cemetery. Right beside his grave was the eternal flame, which was pretty awesome. We also saw the grave of Robert Kennedy in the cemetery. After that, we visited the Iwo Jima Memorial. That evening, we went to the Vietnam Memorial, which was pretty awesome. At the Vietnam Memorial, there were a lot of statues of important people from the Vietnam War. The Lincoln Memorial is where we went to next, and it had to be one of my favorites because I did my report on it, and it was pretty awesome to actually be able to see it. Inside, there is a gigantic statue of President Lincoln. We could see the Washington Monument in the reflecting pool from the point of view of the Lincoln Memorial. The next day, we went to Mount Vernon, which was the home of President Washington. There we saw the tomb of George Washington. There were also some animals at Mount Vernon. Then we went to the Capitol building, where we got a tour of the inside. The roof of the middle of the Capitol was very beautiful. There were also many statues of people in the Capitol. We also got to go to the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, and we saw a beautiful sunset from the balcony. On the last day of our trip, we went to the World War II Memorial, which was also one of my favorites. There is a huge pool in the middle of the memorial with 2 fountains. We also went to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and in there was a case full of $10 bills that made $1 million. The very last place we went to was the Washington Memorial, which was an amazing structure. Then we headed for home.